One of the things that we're really trying to do is to bring you some extraordinary speakers. And the two speakers that you're going to hear tonight are some of my idols. I met Peter Tymciw at Toastmasters. I met Peter at Toastmasters, and Peter came to me, and he had a passion for lifelong learning. And how many of you have lifelong learning in your lives? Lifelong learning.
Well, we know everything.
We know everything? Well, Peter might know a few more things. Right, Peter? I don't know. If you want to learn from the masters, you want to know the really good things that are going on, Peter is an expert and he knows a lot of people, or has read a lot of books about people and all their success.
Need some stuff to listen to, some personal development advice, and it changed my life. Literally got me reading books again, listened to tons of personal development, bought everything, took it to heart, and it really changed me as a person, my philosophy, outlook in life, and I have shared that all over everywhere I've gone to in the whole world. Everywhere I've gone, I've shared about you and what you told me, and I always wondered what happened to you, because I wanted to thank you and say, wow, you changed my life and you didn't even know it. So it's so neat to be able to see somebody 17 years later and see what happened to this guy, and it was just a brief meeting. I think we only got together about 3 times, and that was enough to change my life, and I am super thankful. Every time I keep track of all the books on my shelf that I've read, I think back to that day.
Wow.
So yeah, you changed my life.
So if you're looking to improve yourself, I'm really pleased to introduce to you Peter Tymciw. Big round.
Well, thank you. Why would you come out tonight with all this ice and snow?
Because you're here, Peter.
Because I'm here? No. You would not believe how many people I haven't seen for 5 or 6 years. Ian, I met Frank at a show just a few years ago when I started, and I'll never forget what he said. I was yapping for like 4 hours at the job fair at the event center. And he said, Peter, I was born in Germany, in East German. They're going to have 2 funerals for you. One for your body and one for your mouth. And then I met Frank just a month ago, and there are people here, let me tell you, I would not be here tonight if it wasn't for Mr. Bob. Public speakers speak for free. Professional speakers speak for a fee. The only reason why I'm here tonight is because of Mr. Bob. Now, I've heard this line from Jim Rohn and many others. Your children are asking you, why are you leaving me tonight in this snowstorm? Those people must be very special or very important. So I commend you and thank you for coming out tonight, because you could be doing other things. So I want to make sure over the next 19 minutes that you get incredible value for taking the risk of leaving your home in Barrie and coming here today. And Mr. Bob is an important person, and the people that he associates with, which I am a member of, are important people. So that's why I'm here today. Now, one of the privileges I have as a professional speaker is to travel. And one of the magazines I get that you might be interested in, and many people, I've got a lot of feedback on this, but that's just the house system, how many here are members of associations? If you are an engineer, an accountant, or a lawyer, you better be a member of your association, because that's where you get all the wisdom of all the people pulled together. As a professional speaker, I get a magazine called Speaker. And on the cover here is a gentleman by the name of Jim Stowell. But there was a poem on here that I want to share with you and read with you as I start off. And it's written by Becky Nichol. I'm used to speaking very fast. I'm a motivational speaker, and I'm going to tone it down a bit today. I want to make sure you get it. Listen to this incredible piece. Blessed are we who speak. How many here are speakers and trainers? 1, 2. How many want to be speakers and trainers? Many hands. How many want to be earning $15,000 to speak for 1 hour? You want to listen to what I have to say. Here's what Becky Nichol says. Blessed are we who speak, for we are the bearers of good tidings. We instill hope in those who have lost their faith in life. We inspire our fellow man and woman to discover the goodness within him or her, and share that goodness with the world. We encourage leaders to have integrity and ethics, to lead with compassion and understanding, and to realize that they are role models for future generations. Blessed are we who speak because we hang out with the neatest group of people in the world, Mr. Bob's network, once every 2 months. Isn't that true? Let me tell you, if you weren't interested, you wouldn't be here. No one forced you to come here. So this is a great group of people. Our heroes are men and women of honor and wisdom who have left the world a better place than they have found it. So thank you, Mr. Bob, for inviting me. It's taken a few years, but I'm here because of you. Just so that some speakers and trainers might get what we call a big head when you stand in front of people. This is an incredible privilege to be speaking to people. You have to watch what you say, because you can lead people down the wrong path. And many of us have been to those seminars where you ran to the bank and bought all these businesses, and the person was bankrupt after a year. I've got 20 years of those stories. And so I'm going to ask you to make a decision tonight when I'm done talking, and that is to make a commitment to launch yourself on a personal journey of personal and professional development. Are you willing to make that commitment? It'll cost you $2. $2. And I will tell you how you can get what I've spent 20 years collecting basically at your fingertips. Now, in this story, this person, Jim Stowell, makes $15,000 to speak for an hour. Now, do you notice anything different about him at all? He's blind. And brilliant. Now, after an engagement in front of 14,000 people, he went up to the meeting planner, and those are people who book speakers. And he said, I feel guilty cashing this check for $15,000. Thank you for the limo. Thank you for all the food. And you know what the meeting planner said for all of you people who have big heads and, egos? You know what? You spoke for an hour and 10 minutes. This convention cost us $7 million. After you spoke, you see those entrances there? There are donuts, coffee, and bagels. 14,000 people run to those corners for the fix of coffee and donuts. Those donuts, bagels, and coffee cost me $42,000. Your speaking fee is a bargain. you're cheaper than the bagels. That's in this story. Now, how did he get to the point where he commanded $15,000 to speak? My friends, I hope you have a story to tell, because someday someone's going to want to hear your story, and they'll pay you a lot of money. Whether you're recovering from a broken marriage and you help other people, whether you've recovered from a failed business and you have succeeded again, whether you are overcoming cancer. I get people calling me all the time for breast cancer. A book on this, a book on that. I can tell you exactly what their problem is. They want to find a solution to something. So Jim wrote a book 10 years ago, and he started the Narrative Television Network. And some people are nodding their heads, and it's because of this book, people got wind of him, and he charges $15,000 to say what's in this book, which you can buy for $20 or $30. Here's what he did, folks. We all see here today. Any blind people here? Here's what a blind person did. Stockbroker, top of his class, and started a television network for blind people. When you're watching the movie, it's quiet, but he fills in everything that's happening. All the famous movies, the person is walking across the room, the curtains are purple, and then you hear a famous actor speak. 1,000 cable stations, he has his own talk show, and this is the story that people want to hear. How did you do that as a blind person? Well, he doesn't drive his car. We just heard in the news today, Britney Spears is finally straightening out. She's got a driver, right? Jim has a chauffeur, and all he does is go around the country and he provides hope for people. Now, I love this title. You don't have to be blind to see. I'm not a magician, and this table is just some of my resources, and I would never go anywhere without the tools that have made me the person that I am. Now, when you're here this evening, I want to make sure you have value. Let me just very quickly thank Mr. Bob again, and I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for Toastmasters. And I'm the Barrie champion for 2003, 2004, and 2006, and that's because I didn't compete in 2005. And it's based on a 7-minute speech. And that speech prepared me to audition for Fred Pryor Seminars at the Inn in the Park, which today no longer exists. 30 people showed up, they only selected 3. I was one of the lucky 3. And that's what Toastmasters did for me. Mr. Bob gave me my first evaluation back in December 2001. And it's been a journey of 6 years of friendship. Because of that, I went down to Kansas City, got certified, and this is a small company. No, Tom Peters and Jack Canfield, that's where they started. CareerTrack. I met Fred, who started the seminar industry, and I challenged him and others. And I have been on an incredible journey where I've been in every major city in Canada, 16 states, teaching the management conference, how to handle difficult people, speaking, accounting, and finance. Do you think I love those topics? I got paid to speak on those from 9 to 4, but that's not my passion. What I'm speaking on tonight is my passion. So during those 7 hours, I let them have it all day long, because people can only take so much accounting and so much accounts receivable and so much management. So I have an opportunity to not speak for 7 minutes, but 7 hours. So that's the incredible journey I've been on. My company, Books for Life and BFL Seminars, is a training and resource company to help people get launched on a personal development of journey and learning. Now, everyone got up and did their infomercial. Some are great, some are good, some are poor. And you know what? You all have businesses, and the number one thing you need to do is always work on what? Your communication skills. And I'm going to tell you in 3 minutes how to become a dynamic communicator. Do you want to find out? 3 minutes. Number 1, I stole this from a gentleman by the name of Cabot Robert. Have you heard of Cabot Robert? You won't find this book in Chapters or in Canada. Cabot Roberts started the National Speakers Association that put out that magazine. Now, he heard Will Rogers in 1935. How many here heard of Will Rogers? Okay, now you know what I'm talking about. Just lift something from someone else, but give them credit for it. He heard Will Rogers speak in 1935, and that speech changed his life. And today there are 4,000 speakers in America and 400 in Canada that wear a badge like this because they've earned the right to speak. You know what, there's two things you can do when you get older: speak and golf. Zig Ziglar is 80 years old, and he makes more money as an 80-year-old than when he was 40 or 50 or 60. Now, I just heard yesterday that Zig Ziglar, his life story there, fell down the stairs and had a concussion in March, and his short-term memory is completely gone, and his speaking days are over. I heard him in Toronto 4 years ago. And he said this: money is not the most important thing in life, but it sure ranks up there with oxygen. Without air, we can't breathe. Without money, we can't run our businesses. So here's what Bill Rogers said: how do you become a dynamic communicator? If you have a business and a product and a service, research, read, become an expert, know what you're talking about, Bill Rogers said. Know your business. If you're a lawyer, know the law. Number two, love what you're doing. Those that know me know I'm passionate about books and reading, personal development. They see my van drive around for 6 years in Barrie. Anyone who came into my store in Gallon Street, many are here today in Esta Road, know how I love books. I never made money off that stuff, but it was my tool to get to this point. Number three, believe in what you're saying and doing. It shows, folks. So together, number one, what do you have to do? Know your business, know what you're talking about. I have a library of 10,000 books. I hear speakers and trainers, and I'm ready to tell them, you don't know your stuff. You have one book. Now, number two, believe it, right? And love it. Now, all the knowledge today, information overload, we are getting to know less and less about more and more, and more about less and less, so we know everything about nothing and nothing about everything. That's where we are today, folks. So specialize in an area. And Will Rogers said this: people are going to be more convinced by the depth of your conviction about what you sell, rather than the height of your knowledge. Not all the proof in the world that you can give, but your enthusiasm about how you're living and what business you're in. Those are the keys here, folks, to get going as a dynamic communicator. Now, with the few minutes that I have left, why should you get launched in personal development? Let me give you a very quick story. It's a little accident over here. I'm sure I won't step into that mess there. One gentleman, we have someone here from the library. This gentleman was going to have a gun placed at his temple. It was raining. It was in Cleveland. And he went into a library and picked up a book. He read that book and it changed his life. He contacted the author of that book, The Power of Books, folks, one book. He became a writer for that man. He wrote an article on Ben Hogan after he had the accident. Some publisher contacted this writer and said, "You have a book inside of you." And that man said, "I sure do." And that book is The Greatest Salesman in the World. And the book that Og Mandino read, do you know what book that was, folks? Success Through a Positive Mental Attitude. Now, do you think this book is worth anything today? Is it worth promoting? Just ask Sylvia, because if you go to her website, go for results, the only book she has on her website is referring to this book. Now, I think she knows something that maybe you don't know. There's power in this book, and Og Mandino became the greatest inspirational writer and the greatest speaker of his time. And many of the speakers today owe their life to him. If you're interested, I have one set of gold-lined books of The Greatest Salesman, The Greatest Miracle, and The Greatest Secret. If you want gold for your library, these are the books that he wrote. Now, when you get launched in personal development, let me ask you, who are you turning to? When you total up the letters and the numbers in the word attitude, A equals 1, you'll be amazed to find out that attitude totals 100. If your attitude is 100%, people will see it. If you take the word discipline, you will see that every letter in that D equals 4. The word discipline totals to 100%. Now, I didn't know that. I just found that out a few weeks ago. If you don't have 100%, you will never make it. A few minutes left. How do you get launched in personal development? I have a lot of books up here. You can browse through Earl Nightingale, Dale Carnegie, Brian Tracy, Jim Rohn, Zig Ziglar. All of these people are available for you. If you want to become a great communicator, there's a gentleman by the name of Nito Kubane. Have you heard of him? The National Speakers Association named their charitable arm in his memory, because he gave so much of his life to all the speakers. Now, Nito Kubane started off speaking with a broken English language, and in America is known as one of the most famous speakers in America that all the speakers turn to. Let me get you to take some action as I end off here for my last 3 minutes, and I'm watching my clock here. I share this story wherever I go across North America. I've met a lot of people, and this is the story that I leave with you to make sure that you take action when you leave here today. Larry Walters was a truck driver. Have you heard of this story? 1982, he tied 42 helium balloons to his lawn chair. And he took off. Right? He took off. He had a pellet gun. He thought he was just going to go up 100 feet. He went up 16,000 feet. September 11th was a no-fly zone. Over LAX, it was a no-fly zone. An airline pilot flew by and said, "You won't believe this, I just passed a guy in a lawn chair." Absolute truth. He finally shot out his balloon, he came back to Earth, and he made it to the Johnny Carson show. And Johnny asked him, "Larry, why in the heck did you do what you did?" Truck driver, slugging back beers every weekend, his neighbors put up fences. He just wanted to get up and have a different perspective of his neighbors. He got more than he bargained for. I hope when you come out to Mr. Bob's events, you get more than you bargained for. You meet people who will impact your life. Now, Larry became a motivational speaker, and the only speech he gave was this. What was his speech? "You just can't sit there." That was his answer to Johnny Carson. He said, "I got fed up of sitting there. I took action. I got those helium balloons," and he took off. Here's the saddest part, folks. 11 years later, he took a real gun, not a pellet gun, went into the hills of California that I drove through just a few years ago, and took his life in 1993. Because he had nothing else to live for. Because he said, "All I ever lived for was to get up in that lawn chair up into the sky. I've accomplished all my dreams and goals." When you stop dreaming for your family and your marriage and your children and for this country and your business and your city, it's over. They might as well bury you today. Keep your dreams alive, and you do that by reading the stories of my 2,500 biographies that I would share with you for whatever business you're in to take you to the next level. Just don't sit there, meet me at the back, sign up for $2, and I will sign you up on a journey that you won't believe in. You'll thank me for it. Thank you very much.
Oh, I have to give it? While we're setting up here, one of the reasons that I brought Peter to this event, he's a bit of a kook, and he really loves books. And if you're looking for a real life experience, going and see people's biographies and what's going on, he looks like a salesman as far as selling books. Yes? But these books can change your life because you get a different perspective. So when you're going through your life and you're saying, "I don't know which way to go," he's a good person to talk to.